Want a sword? Get a mentor. Hey, it's Nina Carmichael, and we made these videos because you're probably the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more, and you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, my husband, Evan Carmichael. Rule number 1, create a bigger pain.
Rejection leads to success. All you have to do is look at the people that you look up to. Look at the people that I profiled on my YouTube channels, and what you'll find is rejection after rejection after rejection. So rejection leads to success. You know this. Intellectually, you already know this. But when you get into the situation where you have to face rejection, then your emotions take over. Your fears take over, and you don't do the thing that you might get rejected for, even though you know logically, because in that moment, your emotions, your fear are greater than your logic. I had a life-changing fear of rejection situation happen to me in Paris when I was 18 years old. And I was there when I was on a street outside the Notre Dame Cathedral, and I had a map in front of me, and this cute girl comes up to me, she asked me for directions, and I wanted to ask her out, and I was too afraid, I was too embarrassed, I was too ashamed, I was too worried that I might get rejected. In my head, the only thing I could think of was, I want to ask her out, and she might reject me. She might say no. And so what did I do? Nothing. Now, if I had logically stood to the side, press time out, pause the situation, say, Evan, logically, what makes sense? Logically, she might say no, and you're okay. You'll move on with the rest of your day. Logically, she might say yes. Why is she coming up to you asking for directions? Why is she asking for directions when she already speaks perfect French and she seems like a local, right? Logically, that's what makes the most sense. Logically, I should have summoned the courage to go off and do it. But in the moment, your emotions take over. Your fear takes over. That idea that you might get rejected takes over. And so what did I do? Nothing. I let her walk away. And ever since that day, I reminded myself that I would rather know and fail than not know. And I use that painful moment to, whenever I am thinking about doing something I'm afraid of rejection for, afraid of it not working out, then I have to do it. That moment is what led me to become an entrepreneur. Because a year later, when I had the chance to have my dream job and make $100K a year, travel around the world, or be an entrepreneur, own 30% of a business and make $300 a month, I had that picture in my head where I was thinking, I can't let this happen again. I don't want to live with regret. I would rather know and fail than not know. And that gave me the courage to keep going. So I know you guys know this. I know you know it intellectually. I know every success story that you read is motivating and it's inspiring to you, and you see all the rejections. But then when you get faced with it, when you're face to face with that fear, you tend to play small. You tend to do the thing that you're not proud of, and then you tend to live with regret. So how do you get rid of it? How do you get through that tough situation, that fear of rejection, and not let your emotions take over? I'm going to give you a 3-step strategy that will help. Step number 1 is create a stronger negative emotion. So people say be fearless. I don't think you can. I think if you're living a great life, you should be constantly doing things that you're afraid of. Right? If you have no fear, then it means you're doing something that is normal, that is inside your comfort zone. You're photocopying your life over and over and over again. So it's not be fearless. It's when you are afraid of something, at least for me, create a stronger negative emotion, which is regret. So here's what I would do. The next time you're in that moment, you're afraid to do something, right? Fear of rejection is creeping up. Imagine yourself as a 95-year-old. You're in an old age home, you're sitting on your rocking chair, and life is almost over for you. And you think about the past X number of years, decades, between where you are now and where you are 95. And this moment right now was the thing that would change your life for the better forever. And because you were too afraid, you spend your entire life regretting not doing it. Because you very rarely regret the things that you do. It's the things not done that you regret. And so you've just spent the past X number of decades in regret, hating your life because you didn't do the thing. And at least for me, that creates enough pain that I have to do the thing. And so you create a stronger negative emotion. You don't overcome emotions with logic in the moment when you're very emotional. You overcome emotion with a stronger emotion. And the easier way to do it is to go negative. And so the pain that you're about to face is very real. I just create a much bigger pain, so it forces me to action. Just like if you have a hangnail, it hurts, but if you punch yourself in the arm or somebody hits you, you don't feel this anymore because this hurts too much. So create that pain of regret, of future regret, that if you don't do this thing, you're gonna hate your life forever. And so now you're able to do that small thing, that small scary thing, and face possible rejection. Strategy number 2 is create a stronger positive emotion. So instead of going negative, you go positive. Now I love going positive, but I find the negative actually works better in these acute situations. But net, I want to be positive. So the positive solution is, I want to be a hero. You want to be a hero. You want to be strong. You tell yourself that you're strong for doing these things, that you're a hero for doing these things, that you're getting stronger, that you're building muscle, that you do scary things, that you're afraid of rejection. That's not a good enough reason. That you do scary things because you are a hero, because you're on a mission, because you're going to change the world, because you're going to have a huge impact. And that means you have to do it. So it's not trying to fight it logically, because logic won't work. Again, logic doesn't work against an emotional situation. You need stronger emotion to combat the emotion. So just saying, well, they probably won't reject me, or what's the worst that's going to happen, is not as powerful as, I am a hero. I do difficult things. I face rejection. I risk things not working out. I risk humiliation. And I get through it because I am a hero. So step 1 is go negative. Step 2 is go positive. And then step 3 is expect to suck and tie your self-worth to the effort. One of the big problems people have is you tie your self-worth to the outcome. That if you don't get a yes, then you suck as a human. You expect to be great, and then when you're not great, you hate yourself, right? And then you expect to win. And when you don't win, you hate yourself. This is why people don't have self-confidence, self-respect, self-love, because they tie their self-worth to the result. Where you want to do the opposite. You're going to go do this thing that you've never done before, and you're going to suck at it like everything else you've done that you've never done before. Doesn't mean you suck as a human, you just don't have the skills yet because it's the very first time that you've done it. And then you tie your self-worth, what you love about yourself, where your confidence pulls from, to the fact that you were willing to try, not to that you won. Because tying your self-worth to winning means you only do things that you're going to win at, means you play small for life. Where if you tie your self-worth to, I'm going to try things that will risk failure, that will risk rejection, then your life will grow exponentially. Because you're not worried about hitting the outcome, you're worried about the growth. You're worried about you building, you learning, you growing as a human. And if every day you're off doing things that you're proud of your effort for, I guarantee you your life will look dramatically different 1 year from today.
Rule number 2, give a shot.
If you quit on something too soon that you still love, you will regret it for the rest of your life. If you don't love it anymore, quit. Move on. You will never win doing work that you hate. But if you love it, and you move on to something else, you will look back on this day and regret it for the rest of your life that you did not see it through. Most people spend their entire life living with regrets. Don't let that be you. The hardest decision I ever had to make in my life was being an entrepreneur. I struggled a lot with the decision, do I want to be an entrepreneur, and had this opportunity to make $300 a month and earn 30% of a company versus going to work at a job that I thought I wanted, a job that I'd been preparing myself for, that this is what I wanted to do. It was in my high school yearbook of this is where I was going to be. And here it was, earning 6 figures, traveling around the world, doing the investment banking that I thought I wanted to do, versus making $300 a month and owning 30% of a company. And the thing that allowed me to push through and be an entrepreneur was me saying, I don't want to live with regret. That I would rather no one fail than not know. And I gave myself a year. I said, I'm going to give myself a year to do this. I could always go back and get another job. It may not be the same job. It probably wouldn't be the same job. It may not be as much pay. It may not be traveling as much as this job was offering me to travel. But this entrepreneurial thing, this opportunity that I had, I never knew if it would come back again. Like I thought maybe this will never happen to me again. And so I decided to go for it. And we struggled and it was hard, but I never ended up having to go back and get another job. And so if you're at an inflection point, if you're thinking about Which path should I take, A or B? Lean in with your heart. Stop using your head. Your head only understands the world that currently exists. Lean in with your heart and ask yourself, which decision will I regret more if I don't do? And then go take that action. I became an entrepreneur because I didn't want to regret not having at least tried. And a great moment in my life came a number of years later, where one of the people I went to university with came back and said, Evan, I went down that path. I became the investment banker and I hate my life. How do I become an entrepreneur? And I looked in his eyes and I saw the desperation and the sadness and helped him, but also was so grateful that that wasn't me, because it could have been. So how do you live a life not filled with regrets? I'm gonna give you a 3-step process that I think will help. Step number 1, ask yourself, do you still love it? If you are making something, if you're in the process of creating your business and it's not getting results, ask yourself, do you still love it? It's easy to keep going when you're making money and everything's working, right? When you're at the high, it's easy to keep going. But when it's not working out, for me, when I was making videos and it wasn't working out, it's hard to build a YouTube channel. In the early days, I kept going because I loved it. Ask yourself, this thing that you're doing every single day, this thing that you're worried about leaving and quitting and giving up on, do you still love the process of it? Not just getting some result, not just making $1 million, not just getting 1 million subscribers, whatever your outcome is, the process, the work. Do you actually love the work? If you do, then you have to keep going. Step number 2, ask yourself, how can you keep going? How can you keep going? How do you keep the momentum going? The biggest thing missing for most people is momentum. You're just not doing enough on a daily basis. You stop and start and stop and start and stop and start, and people give up and they quit too soon before you allow that momentum to grow and to carry you. So how can you keep that momentum going? How can you do something every single day to move your mission a little bit forward? Not taking giant steps, but just a little bit tiny step forward every single day. Even if that means you have to go back and get a job. Even if that means that, listen, maybe you're out of money right now. Maybe you took a bet on entrepreneurship and you tried it for 6 to 9 months and now your bank account is dry because you spent it all. Great. Maybe you have to go back and get another job. 1, make sure that that job is something that you're going to learn from, not just make an income from. But then 2, make sure that when you're coming home, you're still spending 30, 45, 60, 90, 120 minutes every day. Don't let the momentum stop on your idea. And step number 3 is ask yourself, what will you do to sustain that momentum? What keeps you motivated? What keeps you going? Whether you're having pictures on your wall like I have here, whether it's watching videos like this on my channel every day, listen to a podcast, morning routines, you need to inject that into yourself every day. When you don't see the light, when you're not seeing the results, when it feels like there is no momentum, you need to demand that boldness in you every day. So ask yourself, what is the thing that makes you feel alive, bold, confident, that makes you want to go out and create and build momentum even when you don't see any light around you? What is that thing that you need? And then bring that into your morning routine. Demand that from yourself on a daily basis. Instead of hoping that you wake up all motivated today to go out and do work, successful people demand excellence from themselves on a daily basis because they put something in their morning routine that reminds them of what their mission is and how important it is to move forward. Also, if you want to have more self-confidence and self-belief, I've created a special free program called 254 because the science says that it takes up to 254 days of consecutive action to build a habit. So what I'm going to do is send you an unlisted video to your email every day for 254 days for free to help your confidence and self-belief shift forward. The link to join is in the description below.
Find whatever the smallest first step is, and then the smallest next step is, and continue to build those steps. And when you look back, you'll have realized that you made some pretty significant progress. You can use rejection as fuel to help you go off and do something bigger and motivation to, I'm going to prove them wrong. It's got to be your life's work. If you only had to write one book ever in your life, this is it, and it's got to be amazing.
Rule number 3, match up with the market.
How you want it to happen is not how it's actually going to happen. And this is one of the biggest reasons why entrepreneurs can't get the genius ideas that you've got in here, out into the world. You're a genius, you're an entrepreneur. I love the ideas you have. You've got ideas that can change the world. You've got ideas that will have a gigantic impact on the people around you and make the world a better place. I believe it. I believe it. I know you've got that. Here's why a lot of entrepreneurs never make it. It's because the perfect model that you've built in your head is not actually a feasible one.
you're close. It's not way off, but it's the inability to change the model based off of what you're getting feedback on to say, no, this has to be the way. You need to match up what you love doing with what there's a demand for, with what the market is telling you. And too often the market's saying, do this, change here, pivot this way. And stubborn entrepreneurs are not willing to listen, and they die with their ideas still in them. Especially now, especially looking at how things have changed. I look at even YouTube. YouTube, if I just kept doing YouTube the way that I did it 10 years ago, my channel would be dying. I had to change my channel. I had to change the way I did things. What worked 3 years ago isn't the best path right now. I've moved from doing 3 videos a day on the one channel to having, I don't know, 12 different channels now. Something crazy like that. And it's starting to work. It's starting to pay off. But that was a really painful decision, but necessary. Where a lot of times, and too many times, what started to work, you just want to keep doing it the same way. You had a little bit of success on Instagram, and so you just wanted to stay the same way. It's not going to stay the same way. You will have to change. You will have to pivot. And Jack Ma's attitude is what I love. When the algorithm changes, right? When the algorithm changes on any of the platforms, there's always an algorithm. Whenever it changes, you need to see it as your chance to win. Even now I've quote unquote made it on YouTube. Whenever there's an algorithm change, I'm pumped. I'm pumped. Anytime there's a big algorithm change, you know what happens? People are complaining. Facebook's changed, Instagram's changed, YouTube's changed, the algorithm's changed, and the people at the top are whining and complaining. You know what that is for you? That's opportunity. That's opportunity. That's why you can start today and win, because with every change that comes out, you can win. When all the people ahead of you are complaining about how it's changed, you, meanwhile, are out there figuring out the new algorithm, figuring out the new way of doing things. A young person 50 years ago, think about what your parents went through when your parents were young, when your parents were your age. There were not opportunities for them because the rate of change was slower, because young people weren't listened to, weren't trusted, weren't respected, because institutional knowledge was worth so much more. Experience still matters, always has, always will. But the rate of change has grown so quickly that a lot of your parents may not understand how YouTube works, how Instagram works, how technology works. And so they come to the younger people to say, hey, you've got less life knowledge than me, but you know how to do this thing. I need help. That's your chance to win. That's your chance to win. You know why I'm here? Look, I'm here. I was invited to speak at Brendan Burchard's mastermind. These people pay Brendan $30,000 to $50,000 a year to be part of his mastermind group. 200 people in a room. And I was brought in to come and talk about YouTube. Because I have a skill set that all of his other speakers, himself included, don't have. That I acquired. And I'm younger. You can do the same thing. But you have to get pumped for the next thing coming. Don't freak out. Don't complain that this thing is coming. It's going to take away all the work that you've done. Great. YouTube's going to go away at some point. And I've spent over 10 years on the platform. I'm pumped. What's next? Where's my hologram? Where's my VR? Let's go. The faster you can get into that mindset that the thing that's coming is going to destroy your business and everybody else's too, and you're going to go learn it instead of complain about it, that's where you win. So look for people complaining. Look for people freaking out. Look for people getting upset about change. And feel empathy for them, and feel sorry for them, and feel bad for them, instead of you joining them on the complain train. I like that, complain train. Is that a thing? Get off the complain train. Every time you see a complain train, that's your chance to win, ladies and gentlemen. That's your chance to go and crush it. That's opportunity. So the faster you can adopt that mindset, Jack Ma's mindset, that they're being attacked, they're being hit however many millions of times a day, and say, this is the best, this is amazing, this is my chance to win, that's when you actually start winning, where most of the world is complaining.
And rule number 4, the last one before our very special bonus clip, keep going.
If you are doing something new, you are going to get rejected. If you're doing something that you're not good at yet, you are going to get rejected. If you're doing something that goes against the status quo, you are going to get rejected. So you have two choices. Live a life with zero growth and never get rejected, or chase your dream, deal with the rejection that comes, and go change the world. I have rejection all the time in my life, from little rejections of making videos that don't pop to bigger rejections of projects that I care deeply about that just don't fly and people don't accept at the beginning. I look at this, Built to Serve. This is a great example. Built to Serve is my new book coming out. If you want to pre-order it, in the description there's a link, go get it. Tons of bonuses, looking forward to it. This book, I'm insanely proud of. I think it's life-changing. I mean, it should be. I think the work that you create should be life-changing, but I poured so much into this and I think people need to read it. Like, I desperately think that this book will change a lot of people's lives. It could change your life. I believe it's not just hyperbole. Like, I truly, fundamentally believe it. When I came up with the idea, I was on my tour earlier this year and I did not have time to write it, right? I was on my tour, I'm behind on everything, a million things being thrown at me, meeting people, doing my events, seeing the cities, and I just decided I have to write this book because of all the feedback I was getting from people. It was all the one-on-ones I was doing with people. The same questions kept coming up. How do I find my purpose? How do I know who I am? How do I turn into a business? And so that's the point of the book, figuring out what your purpose is and how to use that to then serve the world, right? It's called Built to Serve. And make it into a business so you can make money doing it and build a team and go off and live your mission. When I first pitched my publisher on it, they didn't want it. They didn't want my book, right? So Your One Word is down here. That's with Penguin Random House, and Penguin passed. So they had my first deal with Penguin Random House. Typically how they'll do deals, especially with first-time authors, is you get a deal and then they have the right of first refusal on your next book. So as soon as I get my next book, they get the right to look at it first before I give it to anybody else, right? And so that's why I signed. So like, okay, here we go. Let's go. It's a perfect fit. I mean, it follows really nicely with Your One Word. Let's go, right? And they said, no, we're gonna pass. I'm like, what? How do you pass? This is better than Your One Word. I mean, I love Your One Word. It's great. But this is the whole thing. How do you pass on this? It's just. And we had to wait because it's 30 days and all these, anyway, legal stuff. So then we started looking at other companies. We started looking at other publishing houses. And there were other ones that seemed to line up really well with the content that they had, the author lineup that they had. And almost everybody except the last one, right, said no. And I mean, like, I got a big YouTube channel. We have momentum. We already have our first book. We're like, why? And all sorts of different reasons, you know, just not doing personal development books anymore, not whatever. Nobody came out and said like, we hate you, Evan. So maybe, hopefully that's not the reason. And then we found one that picked it up. It's like, okay, let's go. And if that one didn't pick it up, then we would have kept looking for more publishers, or I would have just made it myself. Just self-publish it, put it out, right? What do you do when the people around you don't accept what you have, when you want to take something in a new direction? I could have done something else. I could have done something easier. If I just did a book about Jack Ma, right, and his rules for success, that would be easier to pick up than this, which I talk about on the channel, but it's not the main thesis of the channel. But that's what I want to make, and that's what I'm going to make. Whether it's I get a publisher or we're going to, you know, create it myself, it's going to be birthed into existence because I decided so. And just taking that mindset and approach, you have to. If you love the thing, if you're doing something different, then you have to keep going when people say that I don't want to pick it up, that it sucks, that it's stupid, that maybe it's even a great idea, but you're not the person who's going to do it, right? You have to keep going. So I get rejection all the time. Most recently on the book, that's a big thing. And I'm proud that we got our publisher at least, and we're getting it out and we're doing the tour, and that's it. It's amazing. Even the tour, I wanted to start in January for the tour, right? January 16th, we're going to be in Cleveland. It's official. The book's not coming out till March something, 23rd, 17th, something like that. And like, you want you to hold off on the tour until the book's ready. Like, no, we're going. That was decided. The tour is happening. We're going to start a tour and we'll do pre-orders until the book is out, and then we can hand it out to people at the end and mail it out to the people who came before, right? Like, you decide and you make stuff happen. And people will constantly have their own agenda and own ideas for what you should do with your life. You need to own what you want to do with your life and then will it into existence. So how do you do it? Tie your self-worth to the effort, not the outcome. This is
This is one of the biggest things that holds entrepreneurs back. You tie your self-worth to the result, to the outcome. You're great because a publisher says yes, right? If that's how I tied my self-worth. I'm only good if I get 1 million subscribers. I'm only good if a publisher says yes. No. I'm awesome. I wrote an amazing book. This book is fire. It's life-changing for people. And Evan Carmichael is awesome for writing it, whether a publisher loves it or not, right? Because if you take that mindset, right? Substitute your name and your project in that sentence. You take that mindset and you start to apply it and you believe you're awesome for the work that you're creating, that allows you the strength, the fortitude, the persistence to keep going. Now I've got a special bonus clip that I think you're gonna enjoy. But before that, it's time for the question of the day. I wanna know, what was your single biggest takeaway from this video and your plan of action for the next week? When you watch a video and you just get motivated, the sign says you have a 35% chance of actually following through. That's not good enough, Believe Nation. We gotta take action. But when you get motivated and then you create a specific plan of action for when and how you're gonna do it, your number jumps from 35% to 91% chance of following through. And when you commit to somebody else, like posting down here in the comments below, that number jumps to 95%. I wanna know your single biggest takeaway from this video and your plan of action for the next week. Put it down in the comments below so you can follow through and I can celebrate you. What's the difference between you and Jack Ma? You both have crazy dreams. You both started with the odds stacked against you. You both started with very little resources. So what's the difference? The difference is that Jack kept believing in his dreams and his ideas when most people quit and give up. So I actually think you should be on a mission for life. I'm not a big believer in 5-year goals or 10-year goals. I think they can help, but I think if you have a 5 or 10-year goal, you're actually thinking small because you can't predict where you're gonna be in 5 or 10 years. Just like the person you were 5 or 10 years ago could not have designed the life for where you're at right now. Not if you're growing, because the world's changing too quickly and you're growing and evolving. So the ideas and goals that you had 5 years ago may not even be relevant anymore, but the mission stays the same. My mission is believe. Right? Your purpose comes from your pain. So my mission is believe. I want to support entrepreneurs because I struggled so much as an entrepreneur. And I think it's the world's biggest problem. I think the world's biggest problem is people don't believe in themselves enough. I think any other problem that you come up with should have already been solved by now, but the person who could solve that, cancer, the woman who should have solved cancer is an account manager at McDonald's. Because she never tried going to medical school, or 2, she did, but she didn't believe in herself enough to chase it down because everybody around her is telling her that she's crazy. You should be crazy. You're doing something that's never been done before. You're on a mission, right? And so no matter how many people I touch with all of my content, all of my channels, every video that I'm making, every speaking gig, every city that I go to, no matter how many people I touch, it's not going to be enough. I think that's great. I think you should have a mission so big that you're never going to actually accomplish it. I think of Ted Turner's father, who when he made a certain amount of money, became a millionaire, or whatever the number was, he killed himself because he hit his goal. And hitting your goal is actually sad. And so Ted Turner decided that I'm going to set a goal so big that I can never hit it. And that's way more where I'm aligned. I think you should have a mission, something so big that you can never hit it. Some people think of that as, well, it's too big, and so why even try? And I think of that starfish example of the kids at the beach with the starfish, and there's like 1 million starfish on the beach, and she's throwing the starfish back in the water so they can live. And the guy walks by and says, "What are you doing? You can't save all the starfish." And she says, "I know, but I can save that one, and this one, and that one." Right? And so each person that you help, each step you take is beneficial, it's helpful. You never want to actually hit the goal, but you wake up every day working your face off to try to hit the goal. Right? To hit that mission. And so that's belief for me, and I desperately hope that you find it for you. So how do you keep believing in your dreams? I'm gonna give you a 3-step process that I think will help. Number 1 is make big decisions with your heart. So big decisions with the heart, small ones with the head. At the beginning, when you're trying to decide what to do, your head and your heart often will fight, they'll conflict, they won't be aligned because your head only understands a world that currently exists. It's safe, it's practical, it's logical, and knows what currently exists. Where your heart can create something brand new. Your heart can imagine something that's never existed before. And so they clash at the beginning, right? Your heart wants to go do this thing, but you don't know how it's gonna work out because it doesn't make sense because nobody's done it before, and especially someone who looks like you with your resources and your education, your background and your connections and your financial situation. Nobody like you has ever done it before. That's what your head's saying. And so there's this big fight.
You need to take control of the situation. You need to get them aligned by saying, this is what I'm doing, right? Big decisions with the heart. And then your head saying, oh, he's serious. She's serious. Okay, I better help because I don't want to die. And now your head starts working with you. Now your head starts helping you figure out how to actually go off and accomplish it. You're using your thinking side to help you accomplish your mission. But at the very beginning, it doesn't make sense, and so they'll fight. So the big decisions with the heart, and then the small ones with your head to help you figure out how to actually do it. Step number 2 is daily momentum. The biggest thing that you are missing is momentum. You're a genius. You have Michael Jordan level talent. You can save the world. You've got a big, ambitious, crazy mission that you're on. I love it. It's amazing. That's why you're here. That's why you're an entrepreneur. Let's go, right? I'm excited pretty easily about entrepreneurship. The problem is you don't have momentum. There's no momentum. Nothing's happening enough on a daily basis. And so you need daily momentum. It doesn't matter that you watch one video like this and then you're on fire the rest of the day. It has to be every day, every single day. You have to build momentum to your business. Too many entrepreneurs, they start and they stop and they start and they stop and they start and they stop. They never get anywhere because they're too busy starting and stopping. And then you wonder, where's my, you didn't create the momentum. That's what's missing. Every single day, do the thing, put it into your morning routine that makes you feel bold, alive, unstoppable, confident, and then go out and create momentum. That is your duty, your responsibility, your must every single day. Create momentum. And then step number 3 is ask yourself, what would the most bold version of you do? What would the most bold version of you do? Just ask that question. Here's your mission. Here's what you're trying to accomplish. You're looking at your calendar. You're looking at what you want to accomplish. What would the most bold version? Just eliminate any insecurities, eliminate fears, eliminate judgment, eliminate the toxic people for your life just for this magical, 18 seconds. And ask yourself, what would the most bold version of me do? And then see what comes back. And then chances are that's the actual thing that you should be doing. Because you know what? You do bold things.
If you want to learn how to deal with rejection in sales and life, check out the video next to me. I think you're going to enjoy. Continue to believe. I will see you there.
And that may seem like common sense, but a lot of times, you may not actually believe in your product or service that much, and it's then harder to be convincing and make a good sales case when you're talking to your prospect.